Hey guys, welcome to lesson 13 for Algebra 1/2. Hope you're having a great day today. Let's get started with our division problem. We're talking about 3-digit dividers. We're also talking about multiplication in word problems. So first of all, 3-digit divisors. We solve these problems the same exact way that you solve a problem that has a 2-digit divisor. So I'm going to walk you through the steps just a little bit, especially if you don't feel confident with 2-digit divisors. I want you to make sure that you're confident with two-digit divisors as well as 3-digit divisors. Remember, digit refers to the number of numbers in each number. These are digits 4, 1, 6, 2, 3. Those are the digits of your number. Okay, so my problem is 0.41623 divided by 0.0215. So this number, the one that's being divided, is the number that goes inside my division house. So I'm going to start out by doing that. I have 0.4. I'm going to get rid of that 0 so it's less confusing because that 0 doesn't really matter. 61623. Now this is my divisor, so that needs to go on the outside. I'm just going to sort of hair on my board. Okay. So I have 0.0. Now that 0 does matter because it's behind the decimal point, so I can't get rid of it. Oops, I'm going to be too squished, so let me move that over. 0, 2, 1, 5. Okay, so now I can do my division. First things first, I have to move my decimal point because I can never divide when I have a decimal point in my divisor. In my dividend is okay. In my quotient, my answer is okay. But in my divisor, no, never. So I have to move this over to put it at the end. So I have to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, so it's at the end now, which then gets rid of this 0 in front. So I have 215. Well, now I have to move my decimal point that's in my dividend the same, sorry, I just had a thought. I have to move it in my dividend the same number of places. So I have to move it 4 places over. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it ends up right here in between the 2 and the 3. And I'm going to go ahead and pop it up here so that I don't forget it. And I'm going to erase it from here. You don't always have the option of erasing, but when you're copying your problems on your own piece of paper, you do have that option. So that's happening. Okay. So I have, excuse me, 215 into 4,162.3 now. So I need to divide, and in order to divide, I look first at that 2. So that 2 is going to tell me how many times my number can go into the other number. So 2, that's my deciding factor right there. But first I have to see how far my number is going to divide into my dividend. So 215, can it go into 4? No, because 4 is just one digit, it's not big enough. How about 41? Nope, still too small. 416? Yes, that one's big enough to be divided by 215. So that means I'm going all the way back to this 6. So I'm dividing into 416 to start with. So when I estimate how many times 215 can go into 416, that number is going to go right here above the 6. Make sure that you keep your numbers nice and neat and even in a row so that there's no confusion. So 215 into 416. Well, to estimate, I look at the 2. Behind the 2, there's just a 1, so that means this is closer to 200 than it is to 300. So I'm estimating with a 2. Now I look at my number over here. 2 would go into 4 about how many times? About 2 times. So that means that probably 215 will go into 416 2 times. But in division, there's always trial and error. It may not work, so I have to try it. 2 times 5 is 10, carry my 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, and 2 times 2 is 4. Can I subtract 430 from 416? Unfortunately, I can't. It's too big. so that means I have to go back up to this 2 and I have to change it. I have to try a smaller number. So I'm going to go to the only smaller number that I have left. I'm going to try 1. So 1 times 215 is 215. And I subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 4 minus 2 is 2. So I have 201. Now I need to compare. Is 201 less than 215? Yes, it is. So I can continue dividing by bringing down the 2. So my next number after I estimate is going to go right here above the 2. Make sure that you're keeping it in a nice straight line. So 215 now goes into 2012. So 2 into 2, we know it goes 1 time, but that doesn't really logically make any sense that I would try multiplying by 1 because I know that that's going to be a much smaller number. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to see how many times 2 would go into 20. It would go into 20 10 times, right? But 10 is a 2-digit number, and I can't put a 2-digit number right here. I can only do a 1-digit number. So I'm going to go down 1 number. Down 1 from 10 is 9, and I'm going to try 9 times 2. I know that 9 times 2 is 18. That's pretty close to 20. So I'm going to say that 215 can probably go into 2012 9 times. And I'm going to multiply. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Here's my 1. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 1 is 19. This number is smaller than 2012, so I can go ahead and subtract. I borrow so that I can subtract. I have to borrow from this 2. This becomes 9. That becomes 10. 7. Okay. So I got 77 when I borrowed. Is 77 less than 215? Yes, it is. So now I'm going to bring down my 3. 215 into 773. 2 goes into 7 about how many times? About 3 times, right? So I'm going to try that. Put it right here above my 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. So I have 645. Okay? Now I'm going to subtract. Borrow. 13 minus 5 is 8. 6 minus 4 is 2. And 7 minus 6 is 1. Okay, I've come to the end of my numbers, but I have not solved my problem. I still have a remainder. Now that you're in algebra, okay, you cannot just leave it like this and write a remainder unless it tells you to. You need to keep dividing. So the way that you keep dividing is to add a 0 to the back of your number, which is fine to do when you have a decimal. You can add a 0 and keep going. We call this annexing a 0. So I've annexed a 0. I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to keep going, okay? So 215 into 1,280. That one, let's see, 2 goes into, I'm going to back up and say 12. 2 goes into 12 about how many times? It goes into 12 about 6 times, so I'm going to give that a try. 6 times 5 is 30. I'm going to erase these numbers up here so I have more room. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. 6 times 2 is 12. Uh-oh, I can't subtract because this one is bigger. So what I have to do, excuse me for a second. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to go back up and try again with a smaller number. I'm really close, so I'm only going to go down 1 to 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry my 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. 5 times 2 is 10. And when I subtract, I get 2 205, which is less than 215. I'm going to go ahead and stop there because I want to round my answer. And normally, what will happen in your math book is if you see that your number is not terminating, that means you can keep dividing and you're not going to get a remainder, then you're going to stop and you're going to round to find your answer, okay? When you have to round to find your answer, you normally are going to round to 2 decimal places. So to round to 2 decimal places, you have to divide so that you have 3 decimal places, okay? And I'll show you why in just a second. So I'm going to keep dividing. Okay, 215 into 2050. Well, I'm going to try 9 again for this one, which I know from before is 1,935. So I know that I would be able to subtract it. I don't even have to subtract because what I want to do is round my answer to 2 decimal places. The reason I have to go to 3 is so that I know what this number right here should be, because the number right behind it tells me how to round. Since this number is in the group of 5 or greater, I round my 5 up. So my answer is about 19.36. So that's how you divide, okay? We're going to keep going with this lesson in part 2 about the multiplication word problems. If you feel confused about division, please let me know, okay? Please send me a message, tell me that you need another video or something like that, and I will keep working on division with you. But I want you to feel confident in your division, okay? So let me know and find part 2 now.